Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought up PTSD because I said most people may not think that like someone on that, that level of, what y'all do for your job goes through PTSD, but like it could be just as, crazy as someone going into the military just because you hear things that you would never imagine hearing. And like I know
Absolutely.
in the military, of course, they see things that like they would never imagine seeing, like terrible, horrible things. And just knowing that, I said, just because you don't see it with your eyes doesn't mean it's not important. Like, with your hearing, like, what you hear is
Yeah,
just as important as what you're seeing.
absolutely.
So I'm glad that you brought up that, about PTSD. And it kind of leads me to my next question, not about PTSD, but just thinking about like the military and doctors and like police officers and or even 911 dispatchers. Sometimes y'all may get like the label as being like a hero in like what y'all
Hmm.
do. Like I know, especially like with COVID that started a couple years ago, like the nurses, doing their normal daily job that they've already been doing long before COVID. They are, called like the heroes, during that time. And I'm sure that some people took it as, like, oh yeah, this is a, I'm glad that people are like honoring, what we do. But then some people may look at it as like, this is just my job. Like I've been doing this for all
Yeah.
these years. So so I feel like maybe I feel like in the past I've brought up this about like maybe you being called a hero, and I forgot your exact answer. So do you feel like being called a hero in what you do is like, do you take it like in a good way, or do you just think like it's like this is basically my job, and I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do basically?
Yeah. So I definitely think that when people say that, they see it in their eyes, which of course is, awesome that they think of us as that. But I just see it as a job. Like, and I don't mean it like that. Like I only see this as a job. Like this is what I was called, to do. I feel like, but it's a job to me. It's something that I'm trained to do. I've done it for 4 years. We go through training every month. So, it's when it comes down to, people saying, "Oh, you're a hero," and I thank them for that, because that's a very, very nice, kind gesture and thing for them to say. Uh, but it's my responsibility. It's what I'm trained to do. I knew that when I got into this job that, these things were going to happen. So, it's things that you hope never happen, but you prepare for. Hope, what is it? Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. So that's definitely something that's played into that. And I kind of earlier when I saw that question, I kind of read this article that I found online. Um, and it says that, heroism means that you go above and beyond your responsibilities, which I feel like in certain aspects we do that, but it means that you risk everything for someone else. And being in the dispatch center, I'm not fighting the fires, or I'm not, you know holding someone's hand while they take their last breath, per se. So it's almost like I don't feel like I risk everything that I have because I'm not there. I can walk you through how to do CPR. I can walk you through, how to help someone get bleeding under control, or how to stabilize someone. I can walk you through those things, but it's not something that I can actively do to help you. So that's kind of the fine line that I draw between it's my job and being a hero, is that it's a task that I get paid to do, in a sense, if that makes sense. It's something that, I definitely don't sit down and do this just for a paycheck. I do it because I have a compassion for people, and I want to help anyone and everyone I can, and I love walking away from my job knowing that I help someone in some way every single day. But in the sense, when you just look at it, it's what I'm trained to do, it's what I'm there to do. Whenever you call, that's I take it's like a puzzle almost, that I like to describe my job as a puzzle. It's a different puzzle every single time. Every time I answer and I will one line, I take a deep breath, because I don't know what's going to be on the other end of that phone. So I have to mentally prepare myself for whatever happens. But whatever happens, I've got training and I've got all the resources that I need to know what to do. So that's kind of where I draw that line. I know that was kind of a drawn out answer, but I just kind of wanted to cover all my bases and not make people think that I just do this for a paycheck, because I absolutely do not. But it's what I feel that I'm responsible to do in my community. So
Yeah, listen, that's actually a really good answer. And I'm kind of glad that you did, like explain all, all areas of that, just because, so that, yeah, it's definitely like said a job, as you said, but like you don't just do it, like you said, just for a paycheck. You do it because you feel that, God has led you there to, for that, reason
absolutely, yeah,
to be there for somebody during a hard time and to show compassion and empathy for them. And, so just definitely, also just following your calling and, I guess in a way being thanked for that. Like you said, you can train, to them how to do CPR, but you're not the actual person doing the CPR in that very moment. So
hmm,
like I could definitely understand like so that side of how you look at it more as it is your job, because it does make sense, because it's since like as we know we're talking about life or death situation, like you can tell them how to save their life, but you're not the one actually doing saving
yeah,
their life. So but like I said, in a way, I like that you brought that up, that like it's a puzzle. Basically, with your job, it's a different puzzle each and every day, and you never know what you're going to hear on that side of the call. You hear the ring, and like I said, like you take a deep breath, which is definitely good, because as you just definitely want to go into it with like a calm composure and just I said, if and I think you've mentioned this before in previous like text messages, like when you're calm, like I said, it helps them like stay a little bit
yeah,
more calm too. So like I said, just so it's definitely, you know, very good and valid like reasonings as to why you look at it more as, being called a hero is just like I said, just like I said, you're just doing what you're called to do and what you're trained to
absolutely,
do. So like I said, I definitely understand that for sure, because like you're not like a doctor that's, saving somebody's life or or something like that, but you are a part of what's saving them. Unless it's just you're not the actual person saving them. I guess I guess that's how I'm seeing it. So
yeah, and that's perfectly how I describe it. When people ask me what my job entails, I always explain the 3 calls that I've taken back to back to back. It's happened before. Um, I took a call for a dog barking. I'm like, seriously, like you're complaining because your neighbor's dog barking. Like, okay. The next call is someone that's actively choking. You know, so try to walk them through how to dislodge the food that's in their throat to help them breathe better, to you know assist them in any way that I can to be able to get this caller that is hysterical under control, and help them understand that I'm going to do the best I can to help them, that I've already got help coming, and we've got to both remain calm so that we can get this dislodged, which thankfully we did before they got there. So uh and then the third call is delivering a baby. I've done that before, and there is no stress like that before. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, it was probably the most oh my gosh call I've probably ever taken. So I try to explain this through, because you go from someone that's just complaining about their barking dog in the middle of the day, to you're trying to save someone's life, to you're assisting and bringing a life into the world. So there's a range of calls, and so that's why I use that deep breath technique, because it could be a barking dog saving someone's life or delivering a baby. You never know what someone's calling 911 about. And the fear of the unknown, I think, is what makes me love my job so much. Is I don't know what I'm gonna have, but I know that I'm gonna be able to handle it, and I know I'm gonna be able to help somebody. So that's
yeah,
kind of
yeah, that's definitely. I'm glad that you brought that up, because like so that there's so many varieties of calls that you can take, and I was actually going to ask about that, if you've ever had people call and it's a like you said about the dog situation. Like, have you ever had people call for very minor things, or have you ever had people like prank call you? And like,
mm,
do they get in trouble for those kind of prank calls? Like, can they get fined or anything like that, or is it just kind of you you just brush it off and you have to just take the next call.
So it kind of depends on how many times they call. So generally, whenever you dial 911, it comes into our center and we can ping the GPS off of your phone and find out your location. So if it's a prank call, usually we will send an officer out there. Generally people that prank call are kids. They're preteens, teenagers that think it's so funny to call and prank us until the police show up and talk to their parents. So there's usually, if it's just like one call, they prank call us, we send police out there, it doesn't happen again. They usually, the police scare them enough to know that 911's for emergencies only. But then we have certain people who repetitively call, and you can actually be charged. I'm pretty sure it's just a misdemeanor, but it's a misdemeanor misuse of 911 charge. So you can actually go to jail for, calling 911 for pranks and continuously doing it. And you're not only, making us upset or making us mad that you're continuing to call, but you're tying up resources to, when we're on the phone trying to deal with your prank call, there's other calls that are trying to come into the center. So it is something that you can be charged for. And it's something that it's usually taken seriously, just because, you're tying up resources. But yeah, we do have kids that call, but then we have adults that do it too repetitively because they're, not in the right state of mind, I guess you could say. But
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that there is something that can happen as far as punishment. Like, so even if it's like a just kind of showing up to their place and like say kind of giving them a scare, basically, like don't do this again. Like this is like for emergencies, because as I'm taking care of this prank call, somebody probably just got in a bad car crash and I can't
yeah,
answer their call because I'm talking to you about, is this Papa John's? Like, like is this like some kind of, is this some kind of prank going
yeah,
on? So, and like they may like keep trying to play this prank on you, and like somebody else just probably lost their life because they couldn't, because we couldn't get to them in time. So I'm glad that there's definitely things that are in place for that, and that there's such a misdemeanor kind of charge and stuff like that, because it's serious stuff, and people just calling just because they're bored at their house, and they feel like they need something to do. Is like, well, you're about to have something to do if you keep doing
yeah.
that. So like, I'm glad to hear that there's those even moments where they can get in trouble for something like that,
Yeah.
because I'm sure you've taken plenty of prank calls or
Oh
plenty
yeah.
of
Hmm.
these calls that are not as serious.
Yeah. Oh, I've taken prank calls before, and I can and you ask like your caller, you're like, oh, are you at 123 ABC Street? And that will like scare them because they're like, oh my gosh, 911 knows where I'm at. Yeah, we do, and we're sending the police out there. So it's not a charge that I've seen a lot, but I mean, if you continuously do it, then something's got to be done. There's got to be some kind of repercussion. So they usually try and use the scare tactic first, but it just depends.
Yeah, and I like that they like y'all know like where they're at. It's like, hey, are you here? And they're like,
Oh crap! I shouldn't have called. Too late.
It's like, here we come, sending it out right now to you. So I talk to them when you get there. So, so yeah, I'm glad that like I said, that there's ways to stop the, even though I'm sure those kind of calls don't stop because there's so many teenagers, there's so many immature people, and even adults, as we know, and the adult, like our generations is getting like worse and worse as far as
Hmm.
maturity. So like so I can just see those prank calls being still a big thing even up to now, and the scare tactics definitely I'm sure have been used more and more often around this nation, and eventually like I said, it's gonna these people will learn one day that you can't just keep doing this, because it's going to it's a matter of life or death with some of these people out here.